Alright. Alright guys, yeah, gee, I just haven't done a video in so long, I almost don't even know where to start. One thing that's happened brewing-wise is the GABF came into town, and Dan Pixley, Dan ABA, he came into town for the GABF. It was his first time for the GABF, and he went to I think all of the sessions except for one. I think he went to 4 sessions. He went to a What the Funk event, and he went to a rare beer festival, which was the guy must have spent a fortune on beer events. He was just beered out. But anyway, so the good thing was I got to spend a lot of time hanging out with Dan. I think we spent 3 or 4 nights just kind of drinking beers, hanging out, going to different breweries, and I think at one point we even we were just going to random dive bars, me, my buddy, and Dan, just kind of walking around the town, just hanging out, not even doing beer things, just just drinking beers. I think at one point we were drinking Pabst or something like that, some fucking dive bar. But anyways, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I did this Mexican lager probably 2 or 3 months ago, and kind of a weird thing. It had a bit of an off, a kind of a unpleasanting or an unpleasant kind of off flavor when I first did this lager. And we're talking a month after I brewed it, I put it into a keg and started to lager it. Probably 2.5, 3 weeks it was in a keg, and then I stuck it in my fridge and just was lagering it or cold storing it. Not truly a lager, but it wasn't tasting bad. It just wasn't tasting super fresh and crisp and stuff. But and it was funny because this was kind of over the GABF. I was kind of thinking oh man, this beer's not that great. But yeah, it really turned a corner. One thing it has not done is cleared up at all. I kind of attribute that to a pH thing, I think in the mash, because I'd split this beer off into, it was basically just 2-row and a little, actually I think that might have just been 100% 2-row. I think that actually might have been what it was, but very, very little other malts, and this should have been a Pilsner malt, but it was kind of a split batch. So it was basically just the White Labs Mexican lager yeast, which I've really had good luck using, and I still really stand by that yeast. It's really good. Yeah, it has a nice little I don't know, a little pinch or a I don't want to say harsh, but I don't want to say a Mexican lager type flavor, because that's such a cop out. But it definitely has a distinct kind of back of the throat pinch. Where the fuck is that other glass? So this one, oh, here it is. This is kind of what I was basing it off of, especially the hop schedule. Skal's Mexican Lager. This is kind of my summer golf drinking beer. Yeah, it's a Mexican style lager with Saz hops. It has stuff like that, and that's what I used in the clone recipes. A lot of Saz hops. I actually kind of over hopped it because one of the things was you would finish on a 1/4 of an ounce of Saz, and I was like, fuck it. I just threw the whole ounce in because I'm never going to use 3/4 of an ounce of Saz. I know it would just go bad, so I just used it. So it kind of actually took another 3 weeks to kind of calm out. It was really it was actually kind of hoppy, to be honest with you. The aroma, and this is on my clone version of the beer, it was actually really, and it still actually has a little bit of that. This beer is crystal clear. So they have very similar aromas, surprisingly. This one definitely has a bit more of a hop character. This one is really clean, crisp. Not a whole lot. I mean, it's like just super. And we're not talking like a Corona. I fucking hate Corona. But it's funny because I like a good Mexican lager. I never knew that until I started drinking this beer. Yeah, this is just like the perfect summer beer. Not a whole lot of like malt character or hop aroma, just like a little bit of that like Mexican lager bite that it almost like Mexican lagers have. Let me try that next to this one. I actually have not tried these back to back. That's the last Mexican lager I had, just kind of stashed in the back of the fridge. Very similar. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how close they really are. This one has a little bit more malt. And I will say whatever kind of fermentation thing happened definitely lagered out, because there's definitely no like off flavors. I had a guy in my homebrew club, the president of homebrew club, kind of taste it, and he's like I don't know if it's grandmaster judge or what, but he's pretty high up on the BJCP thing, and he enjoyed the beer. At the time, it was definitely way more hoppy than it should have been, but it was good. But anyways, back to the GABF. So, yeah, it was cool. I was able to have a couple days hanging out with Dan. We went to like a tasting event of what the fuck what is the name of that beer? Baptist. Epic Brewing has like the name of it's an imperial stout. It's called Baptist or something like that. You can look it up. But they had it was actually really, really cool to do. It was like $5. And so all you did was taste this Baptist beer. It's like an imperial stout, like a 10%, 11% imperial stout, different ages, different barrel ages. So you got to do like a tasting panel and like a sensory panel. And it's kind of what breweries do when they want to figure out, is this beer, is this barrel not going to be good? Or is it, should we let it age more in barrels? That type of thing. So it was really cool to do. I really learned a lot. Just as far as like what different ages and just different types of barrels and really just what flavor components can be built up, just from aging and blending and stuff like that. So it was really cool. And then we went to I should have wrote this down, but we went to a GABF session. We did a Saturday morning session with Dan, and feels like we did something before that. Oh yeah, we did Milk the Funk meetup, which is really cool. If you guys are into like sour beer production or commercially how they do sour beers, it's a really great Facebook group. Dan turned me on to it probably a year and a half ago or something like that. It's the only reason I'm even on Facebook, pretty much. So yeah, Milk the Funk. It's a Facebook group dedicated to, Brett, Lacto, PDO, like sour beer stuff. So, just those main things. So if you're, a lot of really good reads on there, a lot of professional brewers posting. Like, you'll have like a guy that, like a brewer that does, barrel sour beers, and that's all he does. And he'll post stuff on, hey, I just figured out a new way to stack barrels, and so it's really, like I don't need to know how to stack, barrels for high, but it's really interesting to read. And then there's really simple stuff too, that kind of basic stuff. So, anyways, yeah, Milk the Funk's a super good. Read the description. Don't post don't post sour beer porn, pellicle pictures and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So we did the Milk the Funk meetup, which is at Black Project Brewery. They're probably one of the handful of best sour brewers in America. for sure. And they're here in Denver, so they had they hosted this big meetup of just everyone on the Facebook group, and it was really cool. There was a ton of sour beer, like a ton of home-brewed sour beer, really good commercial sour beers I never had, Jester King, stuff that I can't get in Colorado, and it was really cool. It was really cool. You just kind of meet a lot of brewing professionals. I bet 25% of the people there were professional brewers from, sour beer professional brewers. It's kind of crazy talking to someone. He's like, yeah, I got when I fill barrels up in my brewery with mixed fermentation, you're like, oh damn, you're not just like some home brewer, like a professional brewer just kind of kicking it. So that was really cool. And then we went to the Saturday morning session. And that was cool. Dan had already been to two sessions at that point, so that was his third day going to the GABF, and it was my first. So we kind of just kicked it around, just normal GABF stuff. Just kind of drank what was ever around. A lot of good beers, a lot of standouts, but I didn't really take notes on that. And then from the session, from that session we ended up just going out. We went to a few breweries around town and just kind of Ubered it around town, and yeah, it got pretty late and got a lot of beers up in us, but it was a good time. And then I think Dan left the next day, but yeah, it was a great weekend. If you guys ever want to come to the GABF, look me up. I'll definitely try to show you a good time at least. I think Dan had a good time. But we also have Dan and I, which I don't know how to do the video on how to record video on a Skype call or whatever, but we actually have something pretty cool coming up, and I won't get into it too much, but we did a bread experiment where we this was a long time ago. I've been dragging my fucking Dan sent me these beers literally 8 months ago, and I just hadn't bottled them or anything like that. It was just pretty inexcusable, but I tried one the other day, and it was actually tasting pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. So I just got to send these beers out to Dan. They should be pretty carved up by the time he gets them. So keep a lookout on either mine or Dan's channel for a review on different types of Brett. So we brewed up a Saison recipe in 5 gallons, broke that 5 gallons into 1 gallon batches, and then in that 1 gallon batches we pitched in a different type of Brett. So I went all White Labs. Dan went a different brand. I don't know, but he went through a different yeast company of the same type of Bretts and stuff like that. And then Puka, Dan did the same experiment, but we'll see. Maybe he can get in on it a little bit. I don't know. I think he might have lost all of his beers in a recent flooding accident, but we'll see about that. So, but anyways, that's all that's been going on around here. I do a little bit of brewing from time to time. Getting pretty low on the beer stash, as you can see. But I need to bottle a bunch of sour beer and stuff like that. But make a couple IPAs for the kegerator, and maybe a blonde or a brown or something. But all right, guys. Just been a while. Been rambling on for a minute, but I can't really think of anything. Yeah. So, all right, yeah. So my next beer is going to be my first attempt at a New England IPA. So we have some London Ale 3 and get a bunch of oats and some two-row, and I got a bunch of hops. I actually had to duct tape it, but anyways. So I got a bunch of hops to use. So, all right, guys. Good talking.